All right. Test, test,
Test.
test, test.
Well, some big news this week in the world of pop culture is the Marvel announcements. I mean, if you're even a fringe fan of the Marvel movies, you probably saw this all over social media. In the San Diego Comic Con, as you mentioned already earlier, Nick, they haven't been able to do one because of the pandemic lately, so they had the whole big convention again. And Marvel has rolled out a huge schedule in the phases 5 and 6 all the way through 2024, I believe, is they have a schedule of TV shows and movies, and everything's already lined up. So we'll talk about that here in a second. And again, in the comparison, we'll talk about too in the conversation. They are just from what seems to be, to me anyway, the planning and announcements and everything. They are just blowing. It's hard for DC to keep up with all that. It just seems like they just can't seem to come up with a long-term plan like that. So kudos to Marvel Studios and Disney and Kevin Feige and everybody that's involved in all that, to just good, bad, or indifferent. These are the shows we're gonna create. They're gonna put those out on schedule, and it gives people a chance to get hyped up and looking forward to stuff, whether it be Disney Plus or the movies, whatever. And it's certainly a wide variety of interest over the next couple years here. So,
and I know I said,
this, Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'd said before, I was not necessarily critical, but just like it's so much. They're pumping out so much content, all that stuff. But I got to say, stepping away from the way it might seem at times overwhelming to me, the way that they started out with a few movies, and then I feel like they've built it out correctly. In a way for them that is easy enough to follow along with. In the beginning, you've got your main heroes, and then now we're bringing them together, and the web is being, it's what was the everything everywhere all the time? It's like every different hero has its little a million different pathways that are coming off it of every different character and stuff like that, and like we'd said before, if they're storylines that you want to follow along with, that you feel compelled to, you can pick and choose those ones and follow along. As long as they don't make it to the point to where you have to know everything to get what's happening in this one movie you want to see. As long as you don't see them get carried away, that's fine. If there's, Easter eggs and things planted in there, that you pick up on and go, oh, that's, from this or from that. If you're one of those people that want to watch all of the content, everything, that's great. But as long as you're not, I guess, isolating the people that are just like, hey man, I'm interested in this hero or this character, and I'm gonna watch that stuff. But yeah, they've definitely, I mean, as you mentioned, I mean, the shows, the movies, they've got phase 4 laid out, and phase 5, the beginnings of that. There's pieces of phase 6, I think they announced. So it's just like it's well in motion.
Yeah, it's not unlike, like you said, it's not unlike, in a good way, the comics. Because, if you're a super comic fan over the years, I mean, you would just collect anything and every storyline you can almost get your hands on. And they will often, tie in a little bit, relate a little bit, but you don't have to. If you are a Spider-Man fan, you could stick with a Spider-Man story, and it's fine. And then when he's in an Avengers movie or something, then it's like, okay, I'm interested to see how it all ties together. And if that's all you follow along with, you'll do okay with even these with the new content they're putting out there. But if you're a super fan, you like watching everything, then you definitely can see how they tie things together. But to your point, you don't necessarily have to watch every single solitary thing, and I think they realize that too. To your point, so good stuff here. So. I don't know how you want to do this. Is there anything you just want to talk about? Is there, you want to mention everything that's coming out? You want to mention just things that are more of an interest to you personally? How do you want to go through their different phases here. What do you think?
It's up to you. Let's just go over some things that stuck out to us, and then if we want to go deeper into, here's how that fits in with whatever, we can. I'll start.
Go ahead, please.
I've been anxiously awaiting more content for Black Panther and Wakanda Forever, so the trailer finally dropped for that, and it looks very good. I'm very excited. It was a little emotional to watch. Nice somber cover of No Woman, No Cry by Bob Marley. I'm not sure who's singing it, but it's a woman's voice. It's very somber, very heartfelt, and it later ties into a Kendrick Lamar song. It was it lays the groundwork from a lot of the things we already know. I don't think it gave too much away, other than that the bad guy, the villain, will be Namor, which I am not as well versed in the comic side of this stuff. I don't know. Was Namor from the Black Panther universe, or was he just like a common Marvel villain? Like, I found it odd that Namor pops up in the Black Panther movie, but that I could be wrong. That could just be my ignorance to him tying into the Black Panther comics or storyline. Do you know if Namor was specifically a Black Panther villain necessarily, or is that just how they're tying him into this?
I think it's just how they're tying him into that. So Namor the Submariner goes way, way back. So they're some of the earlier Captain America way back. He teamed up with Namor back in, I'm going to say, the 40s and the 50s even. So he sort of traveled a little bit to where, he's there like their Aquaman-ish type hero, if you will. So he's from Atlantis, and he's like their prince and everything. So he's kind of went on, he's a good guy for a minute, but then he also is for his people, and so he's kind of swayed back and forth a little bit there. But for the most part, he's been a difficult good guy, if you will, at times. But he's been a member of the Avengers off and on for many, many years. So interesting character. But I think, like you say, I think it's just how they're bringing him into the universe, and I'm sure that then they'll have opportunities to probably figure out where he fits. I don't know if he's popular enough to get his own movie. I guess it remains to be seen.
Sure.
But certainly they can bring him into, I would say he's almost certainly going to be in the upcoming Avengers movies and everything else once they get all that going in the timeline. But yeah, I'm excited for him to see how they do with them.
Now, Marvel doesn't need any pointers from us. They've got this shit figured out.
Yes,
but just if we could learn from some DC mistakes, can we at least make the underwater scenes look believable? Let's just do it. Make it look believable. Let's the floating hair and stuff. Let's just be easy with the effects and how realistic they're coming off. That I swear that was one of the biggest things for me to get past in Aquaman. Is not only did the storyline of it kind of fall flat for me, but it was just like it just looked like shit. Like everything underwater was just silly and stupid, and I'm like, this is dumb. I'm not worried about Marvel in that respect. I joke they'll be just fine. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. One of my favorite characters, from the first time of seeing Black Panther was M'Baku, who is the leader of the Jabari tribe, who initially challenges T'Challa in the first Black Panther, and then later they find him, they come to his aid, and he's also in the Avengers movies and stuff. So from what I've heard, he's going to have a bigger role in this movie. Winston Duke is the actor that plays him, and I'm very excited to see a little bit more of him in these movies. But yeah, definitely. And from what the trailer shows, probably confirms a lot of the, like that Shuri's going to be taking over the helm as Black Panther and all that stuff. So definitely it didn't disappoint me. It was kind of hit right on the mark with the vibe I was looking for. So that's definitely the one that I'm most excited to see. So what about you? What was of all the different, let's start right off at the top, of all the things that you saw, San Diego Comic-Con content that came out, what's the thing, what's the property, whether there was a trailer or not, what's the thing you were most excited to hear that was coming to life?
Well, I'm interested in the Wakanda Forever as well. I like that whole vibe. I think it's going to be another huge hit for them. Yeah. I like the fact they're not replacing Chadwick Boseman. I like that a lot. You know, and I'm sure we'll learn how he probably honorably died and all that. So that looks awesome. I love Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, and I'm very interested in the Secret Invasion series that they're going to come out with here. That's where and they've teased that already in some of the other movies, to where the Skrulls, who are the shape-shifting aliens, this was a huge storyline in the Marvel Comics, to where they infiltrated Earth, and you just don't know who is a Skrull. I mean, the President of the United States could be a Skrull, and you just don't know it until they choose to reveal themselves, or you discover them, or something like that. So I guess that's what this series is going to be, kind of more of a drama, it's like a thriller. And again, you'll find out who the Skrulls, who are Skrulls rather, in very powerful places. So anything Samuel Jackson's Nick Fury, I'm all for it. Definitely interested in it, and I am really stoked in Loki season 2.
Yeah,
love season 1. I mean, it's such a interesting storyline with the whole time. The time age. I can't think of what it's called anymore here.
The TVA, the Time Variant Agency. Is that what
that's
it
it?
was?
That's it.
TVA.
Exactly right. Yep.
Okay.
Exactly right.
Miss Minutes. She keeps the lock down.
That's right. Love it. Blade. I've been going back to. Have you ever seen the original Blade movies with Wesley Snipes?
I have. Yeah, it's been a long time. And honestly, I had no idea until like a few years ago. I didn't know that was like a Marvel thing. Yeah. I remember, growing up and, Wesley Snipes in the movies and but they weren't really advertised to you as like a comic book or a movie adaptation of a comic book.
Mm-hmm. And we talked about this before, but those Blade movies, that Wesley said that if that movie was not a hit back in its time, you may not have seen where the Marvel Universe is even today. I mean, that was the springboard into making the Spider-Man movie and everything else. Mm-hmm. That movie was such a nice hit for them.
When did the first Blade come out? Like 97, 98, something like that?
Something like that.
There was 3?
Yeah, there were 3. The other ones, you can take it or leave it here, but it was Wesley Snipes and Chris Christopherson was the... Anyway, I won't go into that stuff, but it's just a great character, very interesting. Love to see the reboot here. I think the new guy, Mahershala Ali, excuse me, he's going to be the new Blade here. So I'm probably mispronouncing his name. I apologize for that. So, and Daredevil. I love the Daredevil's original series. Have you seen this on? They're bringing it over from Netflix, I think soon, but I think it's still on Netflix now. But the original Daredevil series. Have you seen it?
I have not. Because it came out around the same time as they had The Punisher and they had Daredevil, and those came out around the same time for Netflix, and
Yep. So The Punisher is in actually season 2. He makes his debut in Daredevil. Okay, John Bernthal as the Punisher is excellent in that role. Watch that series. The other ones are good too. The Luke Cage series is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But Jessica Jones, Jennifer Jones, whatever that one was, is okay. But Charlie Cox as Daredevil is phenomenal, very believable, and I'm so stoked in having him come back. And Vincent D'Onofrio, I'm mispronouncing his name, as Kingpin, who already made his appearance in Hawkeye, of course. But it's an 18 episode thing on, and he made it a cameo in the She-Hulk trailer as well. Daredevil.
18 episodes?
18 episodes is what they've announced. Yeah. So, but that's all the fans. So the fans kept crying out for more Charlie Cox as Daredevil, and we're getting what we asked for here. So I'm very much looking forward to that, and certainly the big Avengers movies. The Kang.
Yeah.
Just terrific character. The guy's so good in that role as Kang.
Oh yeah, that was. Really.
Wars.
Yeah, in that the last episodes of Loki there. I mean, I was really, really impressed with that portrayal. That actor did a fantastic job, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've read off a bunch of stuff here. Anything else you're interested in besides Wakanda Forever? Anything else?
I watched the trailers for Wakanda Forever, and I watched the trailer. So we briefly discussed the differences, right, in Marvel and DC, and we've mentioned before on the show. I think DC's had some decent offerings as of late. I really liked the new Suicide Squad.
Yes.
Thought that it was really good. Really enjoyed it a lot more than I expected. Especially, I did not enjoy the one before it. I don't remember which one is. I don't remember which one is Suicide Squad and which one is the Suicide Squad. But the one that came out first with the Jared Leto Jokers, I don't like that one. But the other one, with Idris Elba and everything, and the Weasel, who stole the show for me, and John Cena, Peacemaker. King Shark, all that I really enjoyed that one. The Peacemaker series on HBO Max, fantastic, just really, really good. So I liked CDC leaning into that, but kind of going back to just off of trailers alone, the first trailer that I watched after Wakanda Forever was Black Adam. I was interested. I'm like, okay, we got The Rock coming in, and the trailer did nothing for me. The trailer did nothing. I mean. The Rock is very charismatic. Dwayne Johnson, he's fantastic. I have no doubt that if that movie is a flop, it won't be due to him. It will be if it's a weak story or if it's whatever. I guess I don't want to say fear, but I like the version of DC or the versions of DC that we've seen lean into being a little more in your face. A little more with the blood splatter and the humor and the just I like that for them because they we've talked about it before. They can't be Marvel but DC version because Marvel's just gonna rule it forever. Marvel has that thing completely mastered and perfected.
Right.
They've proven it with the characters we mentioned in the last episode. Who was excited to see Guardians of the Galaxy? None of us, but now we all, and so many people love Guardians of the Galaxy. You could even make that argument with Iron Man, the first one that came out.
That's right.
How many people were there you have your hardcore Iron Man comic book fans, but before that first Iron Man, nobody was pumped to see an Iron Man movie. They were just good. They did it really well. DC has had trouble with that, even having, a lot more well-established superheroes and things like that, but they just haven't quite found their footing outside of their Batman movies and things like that. But the DC movie production studios with Batman and Superman and all that stuff, the Justice League, just not quite hitting the mark. So I'm kind of curious to see what they're going to do with Black Adam. If they're going to, I guess I look at that character, and maybe I just don't know enough about the character, but I don't look at that character or I didn't watch that trailer and go, oh, here's an opening for this character to be in line with some of the DC properties that I've seen that I really like the way they handled it. I don't know how it's going to go. The trailer didn't really impress me too much, but there's definitely a lot of buzz around that movie and around that character. So we'll see. I mean, I'm certainly interested to see it. I'm not writing it off, but that one, the one that I did though enjoy, the trailer I watched after that was Shazam. That was another DC one I was really pleasantly surprised with. I didn't really know what to expect. Was not familiar with that character whatsoever before seeing the first one. Really liked that movie.
They
Found
did
it
that
very funny, very entertaining. Yeah, so I think you have a good dynamic there, especially with the fact that he is a kid. You know what I mean? Like that his inward self does not. You have definitely it lends itself to a lot of comedy and fun situations with you being a child but looking like this, looking like Superman basically. So that trailer looked pretty good. Trying to think what else I watched. There was more stuff, and we can even touch on it briefly.
She-Hulk
there was
mentioned too, right?
She-Hulk, right? Yeah, I didn't see that trailer, but I know you said you were going to watch that series when it comes out. You were looking kind of forward to that.
Yeah, I wasn't. Interesting character in the comics, a lot of fun. I wasn't so sure what they're going to do with it in the series, but it seems to be more of a lighter feel to it, which is good for that character. So check out the trailer. So the series launches in August, but there's a good dynamic between her and Bruce Banner. Now, that's in the kind of I assume it's the same in the storyline, but that's his niece in the comics, and she has to have an emergency blood transfusion to save her life, and Bruce is the only one who could do it. So that's how she gets the gamma blood into her from her uncle, and that's she becomes the She-Hulk, but she's always the character. I don't know if she could morph back and forth. It's just an interesting version of the Hulk, but it looks like a lot of fun.
Okay.
She's a lawyer. Daredevil, like I said, makes an appearance earlier, but it looks a lot better than I was originally anticipating.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. A couple things that trailers have not been released yet, but definitely excited to hear about them. You mentioned for Loki season 2, that's definitely one of them. Agatha, Coven of Chaos.
Yes,
I'm looking forward to that.
Yes.
We talked briefly off camera. I thought once again, Sandra. What's her name?
No, it's Catherine Hahn.
Catherine Hahn, thank you. I don't know why I can never remember her name, but she's a very, very talented actress, very funny. Definitely enjoyed her in that role. So that was one I'm very excited to watch. That's a series, right? That's not a movie.
That's going to be a series on Disney Plus. Yep.
Very cool. Very cool. Excited for that. And then Ant-Man and the Wasp, the third installment of that is going to be the start of Phase 5.
That's correct.
And they announced that MODOK will be in that one as well. So that'll be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Have you watched MODOK on Hulu, like with Oliver or Patton Oswalt?
I have not watched MODOK. I know him from the comics. It's a very strange character for sure. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with him.
That show is funny. Like it's basically like Robot Chicken, if you're familiar with that. But so it's that style of humor, and that it's actually MODOK living in kind of real world situation. Like he has a son and a daughter, and his wife is a regular person, so his daughter looks like him, with this floating head thing, and and then his son's just a regular looking kid, and it's all that claymation kind of animated thing, and the humor is definitely adult oriented. It's not a show for children, but it's, like I said, I think it might, if it didn't start off as an Adult Swim's like show on Adult Swim, it's right on par with like those type of shows.
It's on Hulu?
It's on Hulu, yeah. It's just called MODOK, yeah.
All right.
And Patton Oswalt, the comedian that we're all familiar with, he's the voice of MODOK. It's very entertaining. It's very good. So I would definitely strongly recommend that. But yeah, I'm excited to see what they do with the character of MODOK and the new Ant-Man. Any other Marvel or DC things that caught your eye?
I'm intrigued by July 26, 2024. So it's looking ahead. Geez, 2 years from now already, but the Thunderbolts is interesting. So we talked about.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar with that. You were telling me a little bit about it.
I love the Suicide Squad as well, and it's as we said off camera, it's sort of their version of the Suicide Squad. So it's villains who got together to try to basically take over the Avengers and be like the new Avengers. So led by Baron Zemo, and so if you. And now they're going back and kind of, as you read some of these articles online and elsewhere, but they're pointing out some of the potential anti-heroes, if you will, that'll be in this series. So you've already got U.S. Agent that they've introduced in Falcon the Winter Soldier. Of course, you have Baron Zemo himself. They can always bring back, because we don't know what happened to him. And other ones that they can certainly bring into play. You got Julie Louis-Dreyfus that Ted talked about. Forming a team in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So definitely setting this up in an interesting way. They could bring in other characters if they want to with this here, but would not surprise me that maybe someone stepped back and saw the success and the popularity with the Suicide Squad and how James Gunn did that and said, listen, we got this property as well. Let's do our own version of it and kind of see what happens here. So I'm looking forward to that as well. And then the Fantastic Four. I mean, that's the beginning of Phase 6 all the way out in November 2024. So I'll be very patient and wait for that, because that means that we've all lived our lives another couple of years already. So, I can certainly wait for that movie. But I am very confident that they will finally do the Fantastic Four correctly with Kevin Feige at the helm. They will make sure that they don't roll out another. Yeah, just the last couple versions they've done and it's been terrible.
This third time's a charm? Is this
third time's a charm?
Okay.
Yeah, and Dean and I did an episode together where you weren't available. I think we went back and talked about, we did some fan casting of the Fantastic Four. That was a prior episode we did from this very podcast, so you can look back and check that out as well. But a lot of good stuff coming out here. I very, very excited, very interested in all the stuff that they're rolling out here. So there's really not anything I'm not interested in. Of all the stuff that rolls out, I'll probably watch every single one of these things they roll out here. Even Echo, I'll probably watch that as well when it comes out. So it's just all well done, and so I'm a little nervous that you kind of get past. I was kind of thinking, we were even talking about this recently. You know, what are they going to do? You got some of these other characters, like, you know, the original Captain America is gone, original Iron Man is gone, Black Widow is gone, Hawkeye's probably so. Hawkeye, they said maybe he shows up in the Thunderbolts because he did lead the Thunderbolts in the comics, so it is possible he may come back for that. But you also have the new, younger Hawkeye that was introduced. So it'll be interesting to see. Do they have enough interest? Is there enough content? Is there enough characters to? Yeah. And they just step back and say, "Yep, here's 2 more fucking years for you. Are you interested?" And it's like, yeah, you know what? I am interested. And then, you know what? None of it's Thor. None of it's Thor.
Right.
There's no Doctor Strange. You got the Falcon coming back as Captain America, so that I'm interested to see what they do with that.
Yeah.
You got the female Iron Man coming out in Ironheart and stuff like that, and no Spider-Man yet either. So Spider-Man is signed. Yep. There'll be a new trilogy somewhere in this timeline as well. So they have plenty of content. I think they're going to be fine.
Yeah.
For these couple phases, and then we kind of see where we are. No Shang-Chi coming back. Maybe he comes back in the Avengers and stuff. Moon Knight maybe comes back and some of this stuff. So
definitely entered an interesting area because you know, you've got this space where you might lose some people because they're just like, these aren't the main characters I'm familiar with. Mm-hmm. But you've built this foundation. You've got all these people who are like hardcore comic book fans that know a lot of these characters that aren't the standard ones, you know what I mean, that aren't your more mainstream characters. So they're finally getting to see what they've been waiting for in a lot of respects. And then you've also got, I think, this weird group of people that have been created in these last 15 years or so that maybe weren't the biggest comic book fans. I'll include myself in that.
Sure.
I enjoy comic books, enjoy the art of them, but as far as comic books went, I was basically Batman, Spider-Man, and Spawn. That was it. As far as comic books, characters that I had ever purchased and, you know, followed along a storyline with, Spider-Man, Batman, Spawn. That's it. So now you've got this whole group of people who are buying into Thor and Black Panther and Doctor Strange and, you know what I mean? So these people were probably not, you know, they're here for the movies and they're getting interested in the characters through that. You're probably going to have a lot of carryover of people you're going to take with you because they've been following along and they've enjoyed, you know, the first few installments of these movies and these TV shows that you're probably going to carry. So they really have an opportunity, I guess, to tap into this crossover medium that I think we've just never really had before, because for so long, comic book culture was not the same as that as, you know, movie-going culture and blockbuster films, and it was these are just different worlds. And now that those two have been married, you've got this whole other way to tap into audiences that you didn't have access to before. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, it's like, you know, certainly your kids are totally in that. And, you know, my daughter is, you know, Peyton is, you know, 21 years old, and you know, I introduced her to that stuff, all those movies a long time ago. See the original Spider-Man and everything. As old as she was old enough to get into it and comprehend it and everything, we've been watching these movies forever. She's never read one comic book in her life, but she's invested in these characters from the movies and the TV shows, and she eats up everything as well. Everything that comes out, her and her boyfriend, they watch everything. You know, so. And certainly,
Yep.
again, your kids being younger kids, it's the same type of deal. You don't need, like you say, you don't need to read the comics anymore to, get hooked into this universe. And for me, and maybe yourself as well, growing up reading, I miss all that. I try to get back into collecting and read the storylines again. I even buy comics even today a little bit here. And it's so hard to sit down and find time to do that and get into all that. But I can sit down easily and watch.
Well, you're running
watch
multiple
an episode.
podcast empires too, so
That's-
for you
that's right.
especially, it's
That's right. It's impossible. It's just, it's the fan mail. Guys bringing it on in sacks and everything, and leaving it on the front porch. It's ridiculous, crazy. So these
orders
take
for
a breath and watch
Fishernet
this shit.
stockings. It's just one thing after the next.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, did you like that video? You know you did, and we know you did. So stop screwing around and go like that video, subscribe to our channel, and join us for some more.